Hello, I'm Kevin Guilford, and I'm doing a multiple joint movement on the lower extremity when it comes to rebounding. The lower bottom muscles used in the rebounding are the gluteus maximus and medius, your quads, three of them, which would be the rectus femoris, the vastus lateralis, and the vastus medialis. Your hamstrings, which would include the semitendinosus, the semimembranosus, and the biceps femoris, and also your gastrocnemius and your soleus. Muscles used. The gluteus maximus and the gluteus medius equals your glutes. The gluteus maximus origin is the posterior 1/4 of the crest of the ilium, posterior surface of the sacrum and the coccyx near the ilium. Insertion would be the oblique ridge, the gluteal tuberosity on the lateral surface of the greater trochanter and the iliotibial band of the fascia latae. So again, as far as the origin is concerned, it'll be right here. The posterior 1/4 of the ilium crest, and the insertion will be right there. The oblique ridge. The gluteus medius. Origin will be the lateral surface of the ilium just below the crest. Right there. And the insertion is the posterior middle surfaces of the greater trochanter of the femur. Right there is right above the greater trochanter of the femur bone going down to the leg. The quads. Three of the quad muscles that are being used will be the rectus femoris, vastus lateralis, and the vastus medialis. The rectus femoris. That origin is actually the anterior and inferior iliac spine of the ilium, groove, and posterior above the acetabulum. Right there. Also, the insertion would be the superior aspect of the patella and the patellar tendon of the tibia tuberosity, which is right there above the patella tendon. Vastus lateralis. That origin is the inner trochanteric line, anterior and inferior borders of the greater trochanter, gluteal tuberosity, upper half of the linea aspera, and an entire lateral and muscular septum. Which origin, as you see right here, is the vastus. Insertion would be the lateral border of the patella and the patellar tendon of the tubular tuberosity, which is again normally towards that knee at the bottom right there. You can't show it here, obviously, because the show that's great. But one thing about those quad muscles, they tend to all meet at the patellar tendon. The third would be the vastus medialis. Origin the whole length of the linea aspera and the medial condyle ridge. Insertion is the medial half of the upper border of the patella and the patellar tendon to the tubular tuberosity. So again, insertion has been where we talked about before. All of those quad muscles meet there at that patellar tendon, but the tubular tuberosity. And as far as the origin itself, be up there. Hamstrings. Again, those would include a semitendinosus, semimembranous, the biceps femoris. The semitendinosus, the origin is the ischial tuberosity. Insertion would be the posteromedial surface of the medial tibial condyle. So as you see here, all three hamstring muscles are being shown. All three actually will origin right there, pretty much at the ischial tuberosity, except for the biceps femoris, which is short head, actually is the lower half of the linea aspera and the lateral condyle ridge. So that was the only one that differs in origin, with the long head and the short head having two different origin points. But for the semi-membranous and semi-tendinous, they both are the ischial tuberosity. The insertion of that would be the postomedial surface of the condyle, which again, if you look right there, you have it. Okay. For the membranous, that's the postomedial surface of the medial condyle as well, which is again that area right there. Only one that does change is the biceps femoris, which insertion point is the lateral condyle of the tibia and the head of the fibula, which would be on this side right there. That's for the biceps femoris. Gastrocnemius. The origin is the medial head, posterior surface of the medial femoral condyle. The lateral head is posterior surface of the lateral femoral condyle. So again, origin for it would be right here and there. Two different origin points. The insertion would be posterior surface of the calcaneus, which is basically the Achilles tendon down here at the bottom. And the soleus. The origin point would be the posterior surface of the proximal fibula and the proximal 2/3 of the posterior tibial surface, which would be right here. And the insertion will be posterior surface of the calcaneus, which again is that Achilles tendon. And we'll tell you exactly the reason why both of those are very important as well. Glutes and hamstrings. Well, the good thing about the glutes and hamstrings when it comes to rebounding and or when you use the lower body are two muscles that contract when playing basketball. Hamstrings work with the quadriceps. So basically how that's set up is more like a yin and a yang. While one is pointing from one area or is strong in one area, the other one is basically that counterweight of the opposite area. They call that the antagonist and agonist. The glutes connect to the lower back and to the hamstring, which connects to the calf. So the glutes connects to the hamstrings then works its way to the calves. So it's more of a connection, like a chain connection. The gluteus maximus extends the hips, internal rotation, and assists in hip abduction and adduction. The gluteus medius abducts the hip and aids in internal and external rotation, while the biceps femoris flexes the knee, extends and externally rotates the hip, external rotation of the flexed knee as well. And both of the other hamstring muscles flexes the knee, extends the hip, internal rotation, and hip and knee flexion. And again, we're going to go over the reason why that's so important when we're doing rebounding. Quads. Is a concentric contraction when it's doing upward phase. So when you're basically springing upward, those muscles concentric attract. So basically it tightens up and it becomes closer. And it's eccentric during the bend. So when you're squatting down, it actually lengthens. The rectus femoris flexes and extends the knee, while the other two actually extends the knee as well. Gastrocnemius and soleus. They both play the part of the plantar flexion of the ankle. It also has a flexion of the knee as well. So again, as you notice, pelvic flexion will be that bottom part right there. It's going to actually be very important in basketball. Again, you see the Achilles tendon is very important for that calf area. And again, in basketball, it's very important because that's what's going to give you your launch or your lift. So again, if you remember when Kobe Bryant got hurt and he can barely walk, he wasn't able to jump, that was because of that Achilles tendon tear. Daily uses of lower extremities. Basically anything you can think of that you use your lower body for, those muscles will come into play. Walking, running, jumping, kicking, knee flexion, which would be bending or squatting. All those muscles pretty much play a role when it comes to using your lower body. So again, it's not just using or isolating one muscle. You're not just using your calf. You're gonna be using your quads, your hamstrings, your glutes. You're gonna be using multiple muscles doing anything that's to do with your legs, pretty much. So again, those daily usages can be a lot of things that do basically with just moving your body. Let's put it all together. Your hamstrings act as an agonist to the quads. So again, we're talking about that yin and that yang. Okay. These are your main thrusters. So again, if you ever notice some of your better athletes, some of your faster athletes, some of your higher jumpers have some amazing quad and or hamstring strength. That's where majority of your power is coming from, is that area right there, your quads. And again, they work with your hamstrings to give you that power. Your glutes and your hamstrings will contract during the takeoff. So again, takeoff phase would be when you're basically bending or jumping up, as you see in this dunk right here. That takeoff phase would be him rising up to go for that dunk. While the quads are contracting eccentrically. So while one area, the agonist, is concentrically contracting, the quads are lengthening. So again, one is doing something, the other one's pretty much doing the opposite. Extension of the foot is caused by the calves and the plantar fascia. So again, your foot extends based upon your calf strength. So your calves are what controls the actual lift off the ground. You taking off. This will trigger the quads to contract concentrically. So again, once you bend, it's a centric contraction. Once they rise up, it will actually concentrically contract your quad muscles. So they actually change in its job. It lengthens when you bend. It contracts concentrically when you extend them. And while the muscles basically isometrically contract at full extension. So as you see, the guy fully dunking, looks like he's probably Michael Jordan, he's fully dunking. While he is, the muscles are at that point at no movement whatsoever at the bottom. They're not bending, they're not flexing, they're not rotating, they're doing nothing at that point. It is isometric contraction. Until, again, when he lands, at that point, the flow happens again, where you start seeing one of the muscles contract and the other one centrically contract. So once he lands, at that point, the muscles start working all over again to do its job and create that, once again, yin-yang theory. Stretches. Great stretches that's going to work that pretty much those bottom lower extremity muscles would be lunges and squats. Now, lunges and squats are beautiful because not only are they workouts that you can strengthen these areas, but also things you can do to stretch as well. They fit perfectly in dynamic warm-ups. So again, it's pretty much a universal workout that everybody can pretty much do. Where not much strain, more or less, on somebody, unless obviously you have bad knees, of course, or a lower back or sciatic issue. But for the most part, those are pretty much universal stretches that you can do from 5 years old to granny at 60. A great regression, though, is for instance people like myself who has a bad lower back, who really can't do many squats, would be ball squats off the wall. So again, that helps you with control. You have the ball helping you out in regards to keeping your balance, and you're able to just roll off of that a little bit, go high and low, getting that workout in. Progression would be a great one, would be your pistol squats. And again, as you see, it works and targets all different kind of areas, from your quads, your glutes, hamstrings. And again, the target area of that pistol squat covers pretty much everything you need for that lower body. And again, it is a great progressional squat because, again, of what it does isolate and how it does target those certain muscles in certain positions, getting you that full great stretch. Great strengthening ideas for the lower body would be a trampoline workout, as you see here. Again, trampoline workout, as you see this young lady, she's working the glutes, the calves are working. Obviously, as you see her foot is, when it comes down, she has to use her plantar flexion, which will help out with the calves. And again, her quads getting to work out as well. A deadlift is also a great workout for those lower bodies, as you see here, targeted. His glutes are targeted. The quads, hamstrings, and the gastrosoleus is also targeted as well. For a progression, back squats are perfect. Again, if you look at the target itself again, it's going to cover the glutes, quads, hamstrings, and the calf area. A good regression that's going to help out would be bounds. So bounds are a great workout that you will see from track, soccer. A lot of sports use bounding. And again, as you see, what she's doing is full knee flexion. She's going to be using her hips as well. And the muscles that are being used will be basically that whole bottom area, from the glutes, hamstrings, quads, and calves. And again, her planting that foot down is going to come down this right here. This will be heel first, heel to toe first from the looks of it. And she'll still be pushing off that plantar flexion using that calf. Common injuries, again, when you're talking about the legs, there's so much you can use and injure. Starting from the top, lower back injury pretty much will hurt and monitor everything. For me, I have a back injury, which goes down to my sciatic, which goes down to my foot. So again, that right there alone can pretty much take out your whole entire lower extremity. But for the most part, your most common injuries are hamstring strains, shin splints, plantar fasciitis, which is a horrible one. Take it from me, that's another one of my problems. Again, Achilles tendon tears, calf strains, and again, the one that does not cover on this right here, knee injuries, which is pretty much the worst. Outside of next to, obviously a fracture of the bone. That is the end. I want to thank Sports and Health, Health Living, AZ Central. Thank you, Google Gifts, to help me out as well. Third principle of human movement. And Mr. Jackson, thank you again. We've talked and spoke briefly in what this class has done for me. I actually walked the stage on Saturday, and I know firsthand, especially after doing this project here, that I can talk pretty confidently, or at least understand with confidence what's going on. Some of these things that I have incorporated in my mind, again, agonist and antagonist, using the yin and the yang example, in my opinion, is what helped me remember that, and understanding that it's basically like a seesaw type, give and take maneuver. So again, there's certain things I've learned in this class that I have not learned prior before this class, with all the anatomy and biology and other classes I've taken from JUCO to this right here. So again, thank you so much. And again, have a great holiday and good luck to everybody going forward. Thank you.